You're listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. What up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast from your boy, Al Mega. Welcome, one and all. I appreciate it, yo. I'm excited, yo. I mean, we're in a new year. We're going to have some new amazing indie projects that we're going to be throwing our wallets at or our purses at, per se, because, I mean, we got independent creators that are just doing amazing projects, right? Check it out. I have two amazing folk right here that are about to debut an amazing Kickstarter project that will just blow your mind. All right. It's fire. I mean, they've been doing comics, they've been doing things, they've been rocking in the business. Let me present first up the script writer, the one only Eastin and Marcus. What's popping?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for having us on tonight.
Absolutely. And then his partner in crime, the one only Latino, he himself, Marcus Jimenez. What's popping, kiddo?
What's popping? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm just excited to talk to amazing independent creators like yourselves, man. Just rocking out. I got to look at y'all project, man. The world is blind. The whole world's blind. For real, isn't it? I mean, we're going to get into the statement and all that. But before we get into all that, of course, it's all about the origin story, man. So let me start with the big homie himself, Mr. J. Like, yo, let us know, bro, where you from? And let us know your origin story into fandom. And when I say that, I want to elaborate. Who got you into it? Was it mama? Was it papa? Was it titi, tio? Or was it self-discovery?
So right off the bat, it was I'm from Massachusetts. I was raised in Lawrence, and live up north now.
Shout out, man, Lawrence, mad PRs and DRs in that pueblo over there.
Yeah, 100%. So it was my Theo that got me into reading comics. He bought me a Tim Drake Robin, Robin #1.
Oh, and that was your first book?
That was my first book, Tim Drake. First Robin to get his own solo title. Love that. That's one of my all-time favorite characters. And then from there, I got my first book about myself was Teen Titans with Don and Troy and everyone like that. So I got to meet Phil Jimenez. He drew me Don and Troy. That was like my really
another Jimenez in the house.
Another Jimenez, yeah. Got me into comic book art, and since then I was just like, I need to make books. And then I left comics for a while, came back, and Miles Morales is what brought me back into reading comics.
When you saw a half African American, half Boricua in the building, you were like, "Yo, I gotta do something." Remember, folks, he's half Boricua because they're trying to cast a non-Boricua into a possible role. Like, no, it's going to be very important that you cast a biracial Miles Morales. All right, Marvel,
yes,
do it. Disney. It's very important you do that. Don't just cast an African American or a full Latino. Afro Latino. Yes, thank you. We're on it, bro. We're on it, brother. We're homies. So, Eastin, I need to know your origin story, man, because I know you said I'm the script writer. What up, homie? You contacted us, and I saw the greatness of your project. So, tell us about you, where you hail from, in your origin story. And then he froze on me.
In New York Island.
Oh, there you go.
I was born in Manhattan, moved there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Okay, so you're okay. Manhattanite.
Okay.
Wow, you're my first Manhattanite.
I was born there, and then I was raised on Long Island. And then about 4 years ago, I moved down to North Carolina. So that's where I am now. It's a little bit warmer down here, a little slower of a pace. But it's cool. I like it. I like it down here. But yeah, what got me into comics, I don't know if there was any one person who really was like, hey, here's a comic book. And then like my mind blew up. Oh, there was an instant with that, but I'll get to that. But I think like I grew up liking, like the X-Men cartoon, the Spider-Man cartoon, collecting like Marvel masterpieces or the Flair cards.
Yes. Preach, bro. The good old days.
I still have them in my closet collecting dust somewhere. But my brother and I used to ride our bikes to the comic shop or the corner store, which wasn't a comic shop. It was like they sold everything, like a general store, stationery.
At the bodega, bro.
Yeah. But we used to go there with our allowance and just pick up whatever like 90s X-Men book looked cool to us, or whichever cover was the shiniest, So I was kind of like that. But then I remember like my first like real graphic novel was when it was my sister's best friend's father finished reading Batman the Cult by Starlin and Wrightson.
Whoa, that was your first graphic novel?
Yeah. Woo! And it probably shouldn't have been, because I was probably like 10 years old when I read it. And
here we go, kiddos.
There you go. I have the same exact edition right there, and it's an incredible book. But at like 10 or 11, I should not have been reading it. But my eyes were like popping out of my head, when you see just like,
book.
It's a fucked up book, yeah. And then I kind of fell out of comics when I got out of high school into college, because I was an English major and I was just inundated with reading assignments and literature and things like that. And then when I went to do my master's degree in creative writing, I took a course taught by Scott Snyder, and it was the graphic novel.
Oh man, Scott Snyder himself, nice man. Big homie, shout out, yo. He loves us too. We love him.
He's awesome. He is awesome. But I didn't know who he was at the time. He was just about to blow up. It was at the start of the New 52. So I was like, I'm sick of taking these short story courses. Let me do a graphic novel. And I used to love comics. Why not? And I took it with him, and it just really got me. It stoked my passion for the medium once again. And ever since that class, I've been writing. I did my thesis for my MFA as a graphic novel script, and then I just went on to kept going. I couldn't stop. It was like I got bit by the bug again,
So you got bit by the bug and decided to go to creative journey. So I didn't get into that with Marcus. So how did you get the bug to get in the creative journey?
High school. I had a best friend. His name was Steven. He went by Steven Zephyr,
Steve Z. Wepa.
And he was probably one of the most creative people I ever knew. Like he would, he grew up in the projects, so he was drawing on printer paper or any notebook paper he could find.
Printer paper, folks, printers. People would ask this question: why do people have printers in their house? Because we had to print reports back then.
Exactly. So he had like grid paper too, and he would just draw on that. And
nice.
I think at a certain point, he had like almost 100 characters that he created on one sheet.
Wow.
Like it was like this big.
The George Perez of no one knows.
Exactly. And he created like a whole universe of characters at 16 years old, 15 years old. And he's like, oh, you got to do this. And I got back into it, and I started creating all these characters, and I was like, oh, I love doing this. So I started drawing myself, because I was like, I can't hire an artist, so I got to teach myself how to draw. And I was doing that for a long time. And then I got into filmmaking, so I stopped with the bug a little bit. But the bug was always there in the back of my head, so I started writing the books instead of drawing it. Okay. And then
was that different? I mean, in the approach that you took, was it kind of a different segue for you?
Eastin can probably compare it to me. The way my brain works when I'm writing a book is I think art first. I think of like, what do I want to see on the page? How do I want it to translate down? And then I go back and write it. I'll sketch it out in a little layout like this. Big,
so you draw first and then build the story off of the drawing.
And I build the story out the thing. So when we started doing this project, when we'll get into it later, there were some pages where I drew first and then Eastin wrote.
Oh, what? Eastin, do you take the same type of approach? Is this some psycho madness here, or is that something that you could kind of relate to?
I don't know. That's the Marcus madness, maybe. Marcus is a phenomenal artist. I kind of dabble a little bit, but I'm not anywhere near as good or as quick as Marcus.
You should see his stuff.
I don't know.
Yes, he is.
I just kind of I just kind of start at I usually know the beginning and the end of a story, and then I kind of let the rest of it just happen. I tried doing outlines once upon a time, and my characters came out incredibly stiff, like cardboard, and it was boring, and they were not real. And then I just sort of kind of let things happen. So I usually just have that starting point, and then
when you say that, you let things happen. Where do you dive into to allow yourself to let things happen?
Really, just at point A. I usually have a concept and a main character or characters with their motivations, and then so I just say, okay, here's page 1, panel 1. This is what's happening in my head, and then it just sort of unravels. I have to go back and make edits all the time, or I edit as I go. So sometimes my writing takes longer than other people. But it's just a process that I found that works for me. Everybody is completely different. Some people love outlines and swear by them. I've tried them. I just can't do it. So I just kind of, it's called like pantsing as a writer. You just let whatever happens and hope for the best. That's kind of how I live my life. So.
Wow.
Yeah. If I'm writing a story myself, I outline what I think the plot will be.
Okay, so you give yourself an outline and then start writing the script based on that little outline?
Yeah, I do what's called a story circle.
Explain for the non-understanders.
So a story circle is actually something coined by Dan Harmon, the guy who made Rick and Morty and Community and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I can't think of all the points off the top of my head, but essentially imagine a clock, right? And every point on the clock, every number on the clock is a story plot point. And what your goal is, right? 1 and 7 are across from each other. 3 and 9 are across from each other. Your idea is to get each point to reflect each other in the story.
Oh, and is it precisely based on that time?
Yeah, it's kind of comes out to that time in the story.
Some mathematical shit, yo. You're talking some science here, bro.
So you hit that 3, right? You hit that quarter of your story, and that's when you want to. It's the catalyst, right? It's like what happens in the story that propels us forward.
Okay.
Right, and then once you get to 9, that you're like, okay, we just went through all the fun and games, like all the cool stuff, and it's not always fun. It can be depressing. Like in some books.
I mean, that's what novellas are, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to 9, and it's like end of act 2. You're going into the final act, and now you start telling the end of your story.
Okay.
So like 3 is kicking off the story, kicking off the main part of the story,
gotcha.
and 9 is the start of the end. So I follow that, and then you'll start to see things connect all the way through.
I love that little philosophy here. Is that something you kind of do likewise, Eastin, or what?
Yes. So that's the hope, is that you plant seeds in the beginning and they pay off and connect as the story unfolds. I just do it, I guess, a little bit more chaotically than Marcus. As it a little bit more well organized.
Marcus is too on point, right? He's like a schedule. Let me get my pad out, and this is when I'm gonna do this, guys.
That's where it ends. That's why me and Eastin work so well together. My outline ends there. And then we start art, or we start writing together, and it's just like we do whatever the hell sticks, and we keep going until it works.
But that's your foundation, and then you have and then things start to take shape as you get into the nitty gritty of the creating process, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha. All right, so we're reaching the halfway point, and I need people to see what we're about to talk about. So you guys give me a stopping point. So folks, get ready. You guys are about to see an amazing little trailer. All right, I'm gonna stop it where they asked me to, because you're gonna have to watch the rest of the pre-launch. Now, before I even start this video, check it out. Start signing up. Don't mess around, folks, because this project will blow your mind. I'm about to prove it. All right. So get that ready there. Get that link ready in your profiles. All right, because I'm about to share this amazing trailer. Here we go.
Savagery. Come from the ravaged and war-torn Enarch, Shep Olsen set his crown on the cold, dead grass. Useless. He took instead his prayers, his faith, his hope, and below his boots, he took to the mountains. A weapon here, so the bishop had said, mighty enough to save him and his people. A fairy tale pound to a penny, he could be sure. Still no other choice, still a last endeavor. With the crystal before him, memories, phantoms of his wife and son, of Key, Sarah, and Robert flickered through his mind, the last he would ever see them. The black skies opened, letting fall their rains, and the tall...
Oh, I gotta stop it there because we're getting too close to some major teasers.
Okay.
But how awesome is that? But I do have a PowerPoint, so we'll continue checking out the amazingness of this project. All right, guys. I told you guys I'm here to celebrate the greatness of your project. So let's get real,
awesome.
man.
And we appreciate it.
So, really thank you.
So again, right? So let me share this. So before we start the PowerPoint, when is the project launch again?
The project launches on Wednesday, the 12th. So literally 1 week from today. We'll have day one early bird specials. So you'll get discounted on the book, on the digital version, and a couple other things. And we have some limited edition stuff. Sorry about that. We have some limited edition stuff. I think we can tease it a little bit here, Eastin.
Tease.
We're gonna have a little bit. One of the highest tiers is going to let you have your own character. So
no way.
You tell us your name. It won't be in the book, but I'll design it and you'll get to see it. And Eastin will write a short story, like one page, that tells the story of your character.
You know what? That's some braggadocious stuff. Look, homies, I got an origin story in comics. How about you?
Yeah.
Essentially.
The main character, one of the main characters is Helios. He's a protector of the crystal. So Marcus will design you, if you want, as he would have if you were to be the main character of this story. And then I'll write like a one-pager to go with it. So unique, totally a one-off, one-of-a-kind thing. And you have two of the creators, each putting it are all into your own little story kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. I hope people go for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
you'll get
You'll get a physical print, like it'll be about this big. Like this is the cover.
Look
to
at
James
this
Bond.
guy teasing. Hold on.
So it'll be like this big.
Epa, look how he's teasing it. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, that's 11 by 17.
That's awesome.
So it'll be like that big, and we'll get it printed for you and ship it out.
You see, folks, this is what happens when you support indie. Will Marvel do this for you? Will be this?
No.
They will never do things like that for you. That's just fact. This is the value of amazing independent creators, because these guys will eventually be begged to join DC and Marvel. Like, yo, guys, we need you to do something for us. So, and it's up to them if they want to continue on their indie journey or join them. But even if they do that, it's okay to earn a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Don't fucking hate. Don't fucking hate. I hate the word sellout, because what's wrong with feeding yourself and your family?
Exactly.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to feed yourself and your family, right?
So let's get into this amazing book and talk about it. I mean, look at this fantastic cover, and talk about the rest of your team too that couldn't be here tonight. But I obviously follow the whole team. That's them right here. And Shy Cheeks, I mean, that makes me laugh. That name was like, oh my god, it sounds so fresh. What's going on there?
she's a young comic book artist, colorist who's really trying to get their footing in the world. And I don't know if we mentioned this before.
She does a great job.
She does a great job. I started a comic book company last year with the hopes of bringing up this kind of talent.
Latino entrepreneur, salute to you, my brother.
Thank you. Eastin's been a huge help with that, and we wanted to continue that with this book. It's
beautiful.
Bring up all tides will raise all boats, right? So we're bringing in the new talent. Tobin, who's our letterer, has worked with me on multiple projects.
And talk about that when you say multiple projects, because this is what I want people to also know. You guys are not rookies in this business right now.
Oh, not right now. No.
So Marcus, just give us a few of the projects you worked on, and I want Eastin to talk about what he worked on a little bit.
So the big projects right now was my first graphic novel I did as a writer. It's like a 70-page book you can buy on dauntlessstories.com right now.
Dauntless, shout out.
It's an original story called Deadly Living, and
it's great.
Thank you. It follows a team of superpowered beings that live in a fantasy world, but secretly protect our world. And it's been described as the X-Men meets Harry Potter.
Oh wow, what a compliment, bro.
I know, right? Yeah. And then my other thing is I drew a story for a friend of mine called Galus. It's about a world where robots took over, and a robot seeking revenge for his human family.
It's happening now, don't worry.
And then I'm working
my
on
iRobot's gonna defend me one day.
And there's other projects in the works.
I love it.
Eastin can jump in right now.
So Eastin, how about you, man? Talk about that background of yours, man. Because you guys been like murdering stuff. You guys ain't rookies, man. You got no gray hairs like me. Look at this, but you know, you guys are still young in the game.
So I started one of my first published works was Samurai Grandpa that I did with Sean Daly over at Source Point Press.
I love that. Shout out to Josh and them over there.
Yeah. Oh, they're awesome. Yeah. Great guys. Great crew running that show. But so I did that with Sean. I have a novel out with Source Point as well called The Runner, a post-apocalyptic tale. That was my debut novel. Which they have a prose department as well, which has been growing. So they're going to be distributing through Simon & Schuster pretty soon, which is pretty neat.
Woo! Big.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Simon & Schuster is picking up a lot of the slack for distribution.
They are. Yeah, they are. Some I know some folks or publishers have switched directly to them and are even like dropping diamonds, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Diamond was a monopoly for a long time. Not trying to shit on them, but you know, that's what happens when you hold one monopoly for long, and then you didn't know how to handle the pandemic, and you failed creators at that time. You know,
and then other people are going to come in and pick up some slack.
It was just like Skype. You know, they didn't know they could be the next Zoom, and they fucked up. Or like Blockbuster didn't know they could be the next Netflix. Although Blockbuster is now trying to come back. I don't know if you heard this.
I did not. I loved Blockbuster as a kid. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I think the train has passed Blockbuster. Stop it.
Yeah. And then I did a one-shot comic called Mother that takes place in that same universe as The Runner.
I know Mother. Get out. Yes.
Oh yeah. That was with Source Point too. And then I have a self-published book called A Guardian that I actually
phenomenal.
I was working on volume.
Let's show it off on screen, folks. Look at that sexy book. Ooh, look at that cover. Holy shit.
Yeah,
that's by my alley too.
That's by co-creator Kay Baird. She's amazing. And that hopefully we'll have some good news on soon. And I started working with Marcus.
Wait a minute. Oh shit, wait a minute. Look, hey, Samurai Grandpa, Wepa. I wish my grandfather was a samurai. I could have used him to beat some people's ass for me.
And then Marcus last year had faith in a story idea that I had for another fantasy book called Through the Shadow of Titans. And that's a blend of prose and comic sequential art. And that's coming out through Dauntless in a month or two, probably. So yeah, rocking and rolling, keeping busy for sure.
So, may I ask you guys and whomever wants to chime in on this here, how did you guys even connect?
Twitter, I guess.
I think it was just Twitter.
Twitter. See, guys, I tell people this shit all the time. Like, yeah, when I say Twitter, they say, "Oh, it's so negative." No, it's not. You could block so much shit and just focus on what's real.
You can,
and you'll be happy. And you'll be happy.
There's a great
I agree.
community. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I the other day I was looking at like my anniversary. I've been on Twitter for like 13 years or something, and at first I was like, I've been on this hellscape for that long, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait a second,
it's not
like
a hellscape. It's been
but so many, because I learned to do what you did, and I just block and mute the noise, and I realized like so many of my like really good friends right now I've met through Twitter, and they're all in the comic community, whether as just readers or co-creators or, you know, journalists and interviewers. Like all the people I talk to on a daily basis, I met through Twitter. Oh, hey, Harrison.
That's a sexy book. Wait till you see the interiors right now, too. That trailer was nothing. All right. Yeah. Let's start getting into the interiors, man. I mean, the cover is dope. I mean, who designed the cover?
That's all Marcus.
I designed the cover. This is actually, we just made a new version of the cover. It's a little more, you know, feels like an old paperback, like, you know,
a little more distressed thing. Yeah.
Like it came from this era of time.
Oh, well, but I'm digging it, bro. Great lettering and everything on that. And talk about this, because that's one thing that I was actually digging about the book as I perused the preview, right? Was that you guys use this widescreen look to the panels. Why did you guys use this type of, you know, panel work within the book?
Marcus, you take it away on that.
So, this comes back to how Eastin and I started on this project, right? I came to Eastin with this idea about us. I love that panel.
That's my favorite.
To Eastin with this idea of you know, the protector, the man raising a son, and he's a brutal killer. You know, he's the kind of person that nothing will stop him in his mission. And I come from a film background, and one of the things that I was like doing, I was saying to Eastin, is anytime you look at a panel from this book, I want it to feel like you're pulling it out of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're watching.
You're fucking right, because that's how I felt. That's why I asked that. It's so cinematic.
I tried to, like, this page is my favorite page of the book. Oh, actually, no. The next page is my favorite page of the book. Now that I'm thinking about Robert in the church. But I just, it's like this one, you know, it's a tense conversation between the king and his son, the prince, who thinks he knows better. And these were one of those pages where I started drawing and sketching stuff. And then Eastin went back and wrote a script. And when I wrote Eastin's script, I was like, this page has to be one of the best pages in the book, because it is so powerful. The words that you're putting down, that it needs to be felt right through the panel. And, you know, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, likewise, when you send me the art first, I'm like, okay, I can't let Marcus down. I gotta make this fit and make it work over here. And it's, for me, that was the first time doing that as a writer, and it was really a fun exercise, which has been pretty cool. So I like that we're kind of just, if Marcus has an idea for the next scene, he's like, oh, hey, I'm going to draw this and send it to you. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
So very Shakespearean and the verbiage and how you break things down, Eastin. So talk about where you were diving into as a writer when you were like receiving these pieces. You know, where were you digging into?
Yeah, so funny you should say that. Marcus, when he pitched this to me, he came up with this idea, and he said, so I got this idea. I want to do something a little bit different and unique as an experiment, and build a story based off of different prompts, kind of like the Inktober prompts, which is for artists to draw something different every day based off of a list of prompts. But Marcus was like, let's take it a step further and make a book instead of just, you know, a set of connected illustrations or whatever. And then we got to talking, and we were like, okay, but what if we push even further past Inktober and come up with our own prompts? And at the time, I was reading Macbeth, so I was very steeped in Shakespearean language, and I was studying it. So like you said, it came through because I was very heavily in that mindset.
Yes, it did. Holy shit, it did.
And so what we landed on was doing, we were like, hey, well, what if we made 34 prompts pulled from common motifs and themes from Shakespeare? And so that's what we ended up doing. So each page is its own prompt of a motif used throughout Shakespeare's plays. And so each page, it kind of might feel like a standalone, you know, instance or short story in a way.
A scene.
But it's all connected. Yeah, it's exactly. But it's all connected into one large novella, overarching story. So yeah, when Marcus sends it to me, you know, we both kind of had like these themes and motifs and that sort of the way Shakespeare, not comparing ourselves to Shakespeare. Again, this is an experiment, but we wanted to push ourselves a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that happened, and it shows through in the end product, which I'm glad you picked up on. So
yeah,
that means,
I picked up on it like this. I was like,
Yeah.
yo, Shakespearean, but again, because I'm also a Conan fan, so barbaric, and
Mhm.
you know, you guys are using things that I'm a fan of, so it's like I fell in love with what I already saw.
Conan
Awesome.
was my inspiration for Helios in the story.
Epa. Oh, look at
Like,
this.
Yeah,
Conan
Love it.
and Kratos, like those two characters
Yes.
hand in hand.
The god
Like,
of war. I mean, the
I
two
thought-
gods of war. 'Cause Conan is the god of war, whether you fucking believe it or not.
We started making this book, and I immediately had to replay God of War 4. I was like, I need to get in that mindset because we have like this father-son dynamic, and I was like, what better father-son dynamic than God of War?
It's so epic.
Yeah. And then when he started writing the Robert stuff, like right here, this is one of my favorite panels. The one you showed right before is one of my favorite panels. I was like, okay, I got to go back and watch Game of Thrones because, like,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
And look at this page. Look at this. Look how you break this shit down, yo. I mean, talk about this. This is what I was trying to talk to people about when I'm trying to say the cinematic experience. Each panel is widescreen. And on one page, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels that just tell an amazing story. And if you're like me, listen, I'll be honest, I'm a weed head. And if I smoke before reading a story, I am reading a movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You're seeing it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it beyond levels that you guys cannot comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
my goal with every panel and trying to make it as cinematic as possible is like kind of like what you're saying. I can actually picture things like moving, right?
I love it.
And when I'm looking at panel 1, right, I started drawing. What did I draw? I drew panel 2. Actually, technically it's panel 3. Panel 3 before Eastin started writing the book.
Oh,
right?
really? Oh, wow.
So it was that concept. Eastin went and he just ran with it. And when he started writing, a cornered and desperate king, I was like, this is it. So we wanted to make everything feel, visceral and real. Like when you're looking at the sword going right through King Shep, I added like a little bit of a motion blur and blood splatter. And then when you see the blood pouring, this is one of the only times in the books you'll see the blood pouring out of the panel and going into the panel below it.
I love it.
As almost as if it's staining the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just,
which it is. It's the inciting incident.
Yeah.
So long as it doesn't smell like blood, I'm good, and I'll keep reading. Yeah, man. And Eastin, how'd you feel when you got the script, man? How did you attack it? Within your own sick brain. I mean, how did you feel getting this artwork and saying, okay, this is what I'm gonna do?
Yeah. So Marcus, at first he was kind of describing the characters to me. He showed me his character designs, and I'm a huge God of War 4 fan as well. And then when he was like, we're kind of going for this vibe, but we want to do like a little bit of Shakespearean dark fantasy thing, I'm just like, I'm all in. Like those are all my like favorite things. I love fantasy. I read it, I write it, I watch it. And then seeing Marcus's like super cinematic art, and he does this awesome stuff like with the lighting effects. Like you see like on the other picture when Robert is pushing the door, you see the lens flare like metaphorically and literally going across his eyes, and our title is The Whole World Blind. Like the quote attributed to Gandhi, an eye for an eye will only ever make the whole world blind. And that's what we're doing here. And so Marcus just goes with it, and the lighting and the colors, and it's just like each page has its own sort of vibe, and everything gets worse and worse and worse for the characters as we go, which is a story I like to read, and I have fun writing, even though I feel bad for the characters as we go.
And there's something special about what you guys do too, because you guys don't use typical word bubbles or anything. You guys lay it out so much more differently. I mean, this page is a perfect example of what I mean. So why use this type of format in your storytelling?
One of the first things I said about this experiment is like, if we're gonna we already have the prompt thing, right? The only other person that I see making a full Inktober book was Elsa Chatier, Hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name right. She did November. She did Star Wars. She's done a ton of great books. She just did an Inktober book herself, where she drew a book every single day for the month of October. Drew a page. So I had come to Eastin a couple weeks before she announced that, and then I was like, look, she's the perfect example of what we got to do. So we were like, how do we push the experimental even further, right? Not just beyond the Inktober style weekly prompt. And I was like, we got to utilize Easton's skills at prose, because at the end of the day, when you're reading Shakespeare, those long quotes, those long descriptions, that's what makes the story. That's what brings it to life. So when you start reading Easton's words like this, and then you just start slowly picturing all the things like that's going on. Like, the opening line of this page is, the crown itself bled, painting Robert's hands crimson in the pale morning light. Right? Shy Cheeks did a wonderful coloring on the whole page. I made sure that when I drew the crown, you saw the blood not only dripping down his hands, but dripping off the crown, even though the crown has been there for years. Like, it's all these other elements. And it's not necessarily his father's blood. It could be his own blood. Like, he's holding onto that crown, holding onto the memory of his father so long.
Ripping off the crown of anyone that thinks that they're kings of pop culture. I get you.
Exactly.
So it was just pushing that even further and really emphasizing the unique nature of the book.
And gorgeous page, man.
From a practical standpoint, we're limited in our space as a novella, so using some prose along with Marcus's sequential art allows us to sort of get a decent amount more in the story that we might not have been able to. And like we were saying at the beginning, this is a very experimental story for us. So we were like, let's take all the things we love and just throw it into a blender and see how it comes out.
See what happens. Exactly.
And we have to give credit to Tobin on the letters there.
Absolutely.
And making it fit, choosing those fonts. It's like a fantasy-esque font, but it's still legible. Sometimes you see that in comics and it's a little bit difficult to read, but I think Tobin's nailing it so far. And it's been super cool to work with.
Tobin's gonna get major work, because after this, I mean, look at this, for example. I mean, look at the black lettering, white font, very clear to read. You got some story. He throws some stuff in there. I mean, this is this one page is just for the letterer and the artist, and it's a beautiful story being told right there.
Yeah, we the main goal, it was the Easton and I look at Mercy and we're like, how can we tell a story of Mercy in one page? And the way it ends is, when we're going through this whole page, we see Sebastian, Helios' son, with finding a murdered owl, an injured owl, and he decides to put it out of its misery because of his mercy.
No more who's bendito.
When he looks at his father, in tears, his father says it's better to show it, show mercy. But then you go to the next page, right, on page 4.
Yeah.
And we see Helios being the most brutal guy possible. Like his mercy is non-existent.
The old dad saying, do as I say, not as I do.
Not as I do.
Yeah. And I understand that sometimes, because just as the presence is out there socially, I'll show you all the love in the world. But, don't fuck with me, because I will check you real quick. I will check you real quick. And and that's the last thing I ever want to do. I don't want to feel like I'm coming out of my own energy. Yeah. And this is what you're showing here. I mean, these are people that, you're telling a story. People are going to come out of their energy. They're going to go back into their energy. But it's a story where it's like, these people are dealing with this is a story. You're dealing with a lot of emotions and actions and storytelling that are very significant and that a lot of people are going to relate to.
So that's the hope, that even though it's cased in sort of a dark, fantastical fantasy world, we want the characters and their motivations and their feelings to be grounded in humanity. It's a story.
And you got it. You got
trying to
it.
raise its son. Yeah.
I saw that just in a few pages, guys. I actually saw that. You captured that. You captured the humanity behind the characters instantly, where I could actually care about who these folks are.
Thank you. That's
That's
awesome.
important. And that's the most important thing, because if you can't care about the characters, then who cares about the story, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah.
So, but you've done something great here. You got amazing character. Again, Comic Crusaders recommended, folks. You guys don't know what's coming here. You better, let me show it. Let me share it. You better hit this goddamn pre-launch, because you guys don't know what's coming at you. And again, it comes with such a cinematic feel. In comics, being a fan of movies, it's like, you guys have achieved something very special here. And again, was that just purposeful? Did you want to achieve that goal like that? Like cinematics? I mean, do you want this to be a movie? Do you want this to be a cartoon? Well, I mean, what's going on
here? As someone
it feels like a screenplay almost sometimes. Like, wow, the way I saw this.
Coming from this world, I would love to see an adaptation. But at the end of the day, I want to get through to people that comics can be as cinematic as a film. Like, I want it to be like, you're going to get good writing, you're going to get great writing, and then you're going to get art that shows you the kind of shots you see in movies.
There you go, fuck. You see, because I see a lot of people that their only narrative, let me create comics so we get action. And that's absolutely the wrong fucking narrative.
Yeah.
How about create a great story that people connect to? And if people want to see it, and exactly, if people feel it and they want to see this, like, let's do it. I mean, look at Ballistic Comics, great book, guys. Look at this, they seeing it.
Awesome. That's like the first and foremost. This is a storytelling experiment that Marcus and I want to do, and that's why we're just taking it to Kickstarter. It's going to be super limited. This hardcover edition. We don't know what's going to happen.
Hardcover? Oh my god!
Hardcover only.
Yeah,
it's gonna sound like this when y'all folks be knocking on that book, like, I love it.
It's gonna be about
let's see what happens.
This size. It'll be about this size.
You look at this guy sewing off stuff. Sew it again. Sew it again.
So it'll be about this size.
Sample. It'll be about that size. Okay, beautiful. Look at that.
And it will, it'll be like 6x9 standard comic book size, full hardcover, 40-ish pages, and there's a lot that we want to tell with this story in so little space.
So this is only the beginning. You have more story beyond this.
This is what we want to tell for Helios. We do have ideas for other stories, but this is Helios and Robert's story.
I love
that's what we're looking to tell.
Okay, great. That's for now, and it's available on Zoop and all that shit, right?
No, not Zoop, just Kickstarter.
Just Kickstarter right now. I mean, it's Kickstarter, right? And so again, when is it launching?
This upcoming Wednesday, next week.
You hear this, folks? So I'm gonna keep sharing this bad boy. Let me put it up again. I'm gonna leave it here now for the rest of the conversation, because it's important for people to want to understand, like, 2022. Let's keep supporting amazing independent creators like yourself, right?
Exactly.
So, do you have more story to tell beyond this then, right?
Yeah, we have ideas for a sequel book, all that kind of stuff. I think the plan right now is get this out here, even though we have day jobs and stuff, this is what we want to do. This is our passion. And, when we tell this story, we really want to make it special for everybody. So that's why we're only doing like a limited edition hardcover run. We have prints by some amazing artists. Sally Lockhart, if you don't know her, look her up on Twitter. Amazing young woman out of France, great artist. She did a print for us. Heather Vaughn, another great artist, she did another print for us that like mind-blowing. So you'll be able to get that.
How many more stories are you guys ahead? And just to secure people, right now with this current Kickstarter that you guys are about to launch, is the story done? And what are we trying to fulfill with this current Kickstarter project?
The art itself is about halfway done.
Okay.
Right. Where our Kickstarter delivery date is June, so I'll be working on it over the next few months. The ultimate goal is we really want to make this book. We really want to make it special. We want to make sure that everybody attached is getting paid because we come from the indie community,
Yes.
and you go to, I'm not going to name names of independent comic book companies that don't pay page rates, but that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that everyone gets paid, that Eastin gets paid, that Shy Cheeks gets paid, Tobin gets paid, and that
Marcus
you guys get
gets paid.
something. That Marcus gets paid, yeah. That we do something that is meaningful for everyone else, and something that everyone has fun with. Like the idea that every page is his own story that collectively comes together is a super unique challenge that is new for me and Eastin.
So how new is that for you guys? How new?
I can never do Inktober, so the fact that we are doing one page a week for the last 9 weeks now. We've been doing it 9-10 weeks. It's been really fun.
And there you go, folks. I want to
Yes.
show you this on purpose. Do not make no mistake. This is the proper page, all right? When you see that picture, that name, please put your support behind this project. I mean, it's independent. We got diversity. We got story. We got Shakespeare. We got sword and sorcery. We got magic. I mean, this is escapism at its best. Thank you guys for giving me something that doesn't report the goddamn news.
Thank you. Yeah. I think the main big thing for this one is once we get this funded, our goal is around $4,000, give or take. Once we get this funded, it's going to fund the next few books that we're going to do. So we're moving away from this for a little while, but I have a whole universe of stories that I'm putting together that I'm bringing a bunch of cool creators.
I want to know about this, before we go, because I know you mentioned that you actually have begun to take the journey as an entrepreneur and do your own label. So before we go, talk a little bit just about that. What's the label? What's the story? What's going on? And when can I, throw my wallet at you?
Okay. So I'm going to just start off by saying my company is Dauntless Stories. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, and dauntlessstories.com. I am the editor-in-chief, also the creator of the company. The idea was to publish the boldest and bravest stories in comics. So we have some, adult horror projects that are out. Eat My Flesh, Drink My Blood. We have Eastin's phenomenal, illustrated novel. So that book has comic pages, art, 200 pages of prose in there.
Oh, Eastin be fucking us up, man, giving us those mind fucks. Thank you, Eastin, for making me twisted.
It is so good. Like here, I have a mock-up right here in front of me. It went away of Eastin's novel. Like I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, look, look at that cover. Holy fuck.
I'll post it on Twitter again so you guys can see it. But
send it to me, man. Comic Crusaders would love to share and support anything you guys do as indie creators, man. We got your back.
Thank you. It's going back on resale next month, like back up for sale next month. It was one of the first books we crowdfunded. We just did a recent crowdfund for a book called Judas Complex, which is by Son M and Dre Gomez and Tobin. Tobin's also on that book. And it's a queer supernatural detective story. And where the two detectives are a werewolf and a vampire.
Oh shit.
And it's about magical drugs that turn people into monsters.
Holy fuck, bro.
It's an insane book.
So like I said, magic weed, I love it, man. Let's do it.
Magic weed, that's what it is. But the idea is just, we want to tell good stories, and we want to make sure that people who are like me and Eastin, who are getting their start, have somewhere to tell those stories.
I love it, man. You guys, you guys have your heart placed in the right area, and because you're doing things out of positivity. Trust me, you guys are gonna go so far. Because
Appreciate that.
when you do things out of love and passion, you're only gonna get rewarded. But you just gotta stick with it.
Exactly.
Don't worry about anything else that happened. Just concentrate on the good that you get in your life, and trust you me, you're gonna be happy.
I agree with that. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the truth. Ignore any haters, because if you look at those haters, what are they doing compared to you?
Exactly.
They're just hating.
Exactly. So it's like, shut the fuck up. You ain't doing shit. And thank you for your
unsolicited
advice,
opinion.
and get the fuck out of here. And be real. I think every creator needs to have that mentality, because I always like to share the flowers. Let me give you both your flowers. Thank you guys for being so bold and brave. Honestly, for wanting to share your stories, to wanting to share, be creative, to take steps that most people won't take. Here, you just told me you didn't want to do queer stuff. I mean, why not? Right? Everybody reads motherfucking comics, and it's and I hate that when even I have family that is in that genre, if you will, in that community, and when I share what I share it because I only care about comics. I don't care what's being, if it's a queer character, who cares, bro? Are you that insecure with yourself? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, so it's like, I share everything because everybody buys comics, everybody wants to read, and everybody deserves to have and see a piece of themselves in every piece of creation. So I want to thank you guys for being so bold and brave and just doing things, just being forward thinking and just sharing your stories. Now everybody can do that. So if anyone that says that, try to diss you, please just go pound MFS. Middle finger salute. Para carajo, coño. You feel me? All right?
I feel you.
You guys are amazing, bro. Because this year, and next year, not just this year, but every year, Comic Creators celebrates creators. It's all about that you guys are just being awesome and you guys are being creative. I wish I had the talent to write. I wish I had the talent to draw. I don't. But the one talent I do have is to talk to people like you and share what you do. And thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Taking a chance on our stories. Yeah.
Man, you guys are awesome. So check it out, folks. Once again, I need you to hit this Kickstarter pre-launch, bro. The whole world blind, because isn't it? But they're not trying to be political. We're going back on some fucking Stone Age shit over here with sword and sorcery and some fire that I think you guys would absolutely love. And please follow every member that has put a piece of themselves into this fantastic story that will be available to you very soon on Kickstarter. You got Eastin, you got Marcus, you got Toby, and you got Shy Cheeks. I love that name. It sounds so crazy, but I love the name. So you support it, yo. Obviously, please visit Comic Crusaders, Undercover Capes, and everybody else. The Oscar told you what to do. Marcus, Eastin, last question. And Eastin, you answer first here. Okay. Any piece of advice and knowledge that you would like to share with any up-and-coming creators, that you could tell them, I was here and this is what you need to do.
Yeah. One thing that I like to share with someone who's looking to start out in creating, whether it's writing, art, lettering, coloring, whatever it might be, is find what works for you through trial and error and experiments. You're going to be inundated with pro tips and rules from online, from books, from everywhere else. And, take what works for you and leave what doesn't. Because if you listen to everything, you're going to have your back against the wall. You're going to have this creative paralysis. So when someone tells you something, if your gut tells you, I don't think that's going to work for me, don't listen to it. If something does work for you, you say, thank you so much. I'm going to incorporate this into my process. When I first started out, I listened to too many rules. And then I was like, what am I doing? This is coming out like garbage. And then I just started using the ones that worked for me. And then I finally found my voice and my footing as a writer. So I think my one piece of advice is to not listen to all of the advice, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah.
to jump in, I think the most important thing that I learned making my first books and stuff like that is write what you love.
Yes.
Because, it doesn't have to be your magnum opus. It shouldn't be your magnum opus because you're going to make 100 things that are going to be awesome in their own ways. But make sure when you're starting out and you're making something, it's something you genuinely have fun. Because once it becomes work, you're not going to want to do it. You're just going to, it's going to be a project that gets tossed aside after you get bored. Make it something that you have fun with, and it's not something that you're trying to impress the world with. It's something that you're making for yourself. And I'm going to toss an extra tip just because, it kind of goes hand in hand. Don't be afraid to start off with a smaller project.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, a comic is a comic. This past year, I teamed up with Eastin and like a dozen other writers to draw one-page comics for like 3 months straight.
Those were
I
fun.
just drew a bunch of one-page comics, and the idea was, can you tell a story in that small amount of space?
Oh man, how many panels? Were we limited to panels or what?
Some of them were like one big image that was broken up into 3 panels. Some of them were like 7 panels, like on one page.
Okay.
Like the idea was let both parties run wild, and then figure it out.
I love that. Like, you guys need to do this shit and trademark this shit. The 1-page challenge.
Yeah, that's what we probably could do that.
You can. You should. Right now, you're speaking on to the world. And right now, Eastin Marcus, like, own that hashtag like ASAP, 1-page challenge, because that should be something you should do like every 6 months, just to bring fire and passion. I am digging that. Even I might want to draw with my stick figures and shit. I could do some kung fu stick figures.
Why not?
Don't mess with me.
Always a good time.
It is.
Nah, man, Marcus, Eastin, you guys have been amazing. Your book looks amazing. Your story looks amazing with the trailer, everything. I didn't tease it because you guys need to wait until when? When does the Kickstarter drop again?
This upcoming Wednesday, January 12th.
There you go. January 12th, folks. Tune in. Check it out. Oh, what happened?
One last thing. I'm sorry. So that trailer, that voice you heard, is a guy named Paul Cassell. I had to give him a shout out because he's an amazing person.
Shout out to Big Paul. Whereby?
Yeah. And it's actually going to be a special audiobook that we're putting together for.
No way.
Yeah. So it's Eastin has written a second script on top of our script. And it's just an entire prose, like full-on novel style script. And Paul's going to read the whole thing. Yeah. And it'll be available on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I just look at Eastin and all I see is a writer, though. It's like when this dude's like, I'm here typing all day, leave me alone, smoking cigarettes and shit. But he doesn't look like he smokes cigarettes, though. He's like, leave me alone.
He's a nicer Hemingway.
He just does dishes out of leave me alone. Like, what you don't smoke? What are you doing there?
just writing all day. That's it.
I love it, man. You guys was a great energy, and this is why you guys are the future. You guys are amazing, man. I can't wait till people see this amazing project and actually are able to pitch in. Again, let me show you one more time before we go. One more time. Kickstarter pre-launch. Sign up now, folks. When this goes live, you're gonna want this. And you got amazing artistry, amazing writing. You got everything. Everything.
And don't miss the day one sales. Day one, we have a day one early bird specials.
Again, cinematic feel in comics. You feel me there? Cinematic in comics. I mean, not many folks or teams are able to achieve that, but I truly believe that these 2 cats right here and the rest of the team achieve something that feels like it's this storyboard in a graphic novel. I fucking love it.
Thank you so much for having us, Al.
Now, Marcus, Eastin, you guys rock. Guys, you know how my intro tells you to do. So thank you for rocking out with us today. As always, hasta la próxima. I'm Al Mega with Eastin, with Marcus. Hasta la próxima, baby. Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.